Hello everybody, welcome to another video. This is now the first week of October, which means that we are heading into our fall season. We're in our fall season now officially, and heading towards our general season of rest and contemplation. We're on the downhill towards winter, and winter is the time when we hibernate, you might say, and think about everything that we've done, digest everything we've done, process it all, plan for the future, kind of take all the activity that has happened over the course of the season and mull over it and process it and let go of things that weren't useful and build on things that were good. So that's exciting for us. We're excited for the end. We're excited to drop out of the active, frantic busyness, and hopefully everyone else is also aware of the need to do that, to step back from the busyness from time to time and to think and process and take stock of our lives. And we would encourage you to find a way to have that winter season at some point in your life. And winter is a great time because it's darker and it's colder and you want to be inside. But we encourage you to follow that pattern, and we're excited to be entering that pattern ourselves. Before that, though, we are shutting down the garden and getting ready for the cold weather. Daniel and Sam are out there right now putting row covers, these cloth fabric covers, over arches. You can just see them setting up the arches out there over some more delicate crops because we have a freeze coming tonight and we want to continue to harvest. Obviously, we need to eat longer than October. So row covers help us do that. They protect the crops from that freeze and allow us to continue the harvest further and further into the season. I think next week it's going to be back into like maybe almost the 80s during the day. So, you know, if you can get through a freeze or two that come first, you can continue to harvest for weeks after that. Especially here in the Midwest where we're in a more continental environment, the temperature swings can be more dramatic. It's not just a straight line progression down to cold. It kind of swings, and if you can get through some of those cold dips, you can get a bunch more warm weather before it really settles into winter. So bringing out the row covers now. This is really late to be putting them on. We've had a very mild fall, and we're really happy about that. That allows us to harvest more easily for longer, but we do have to get them out now. So we're getting those out, putting them on the crops, and we'll see what survives the freeze and the frost in the next couple weeks and what we can keep harvesting. I also want to show you in this greenhouse here, we've got our winter squash, which we harvested last week, and it is now all curing in there. So let's go in there and look at that for a second. Here I am in the greenhouse, and as you can see laid out on this table, it's got a tarp draped over it. We have all of our onions, and then our butternuts and buttercup and delicata and all the different winter squashes, at least most of them, in here curing. We keep the thermostat up to a particular temperature for different crops, and it helps them dry out so that there's no molds on their surfaces. It helps some of them form a thicker skin. It helps some of the winter squashes create some more sugars in them. There's a bunch of different things that is happening when you cure different crops, but generally speaking, it prepares them to store better and to last longer in storage. So we'll keep them in here for a little while where we can control the temperature really easily, and then we'll move them all down into our basement, which we use as a cold cellar. But these crops are going to last for a long time. Last year we had onions and garlic all the way through into the next season, so that's really cool. First year-round cropping that we have really done. That we rely on these food sources. We eat a lot of this stuff. We try to eat from the farm as much as possible, just because we are very aware of the higher nutritional quality of our food versus what you can get in the grocery store, and so that's important to us. And we also enjoy eating seasonally. The meals are a little less diverse in the wintertime, but that is part of that season. It's a season of a bit of austerity, simplicity. You're paying attention to other things during that season. And so we like to live seasonally and listen to the seasons and let those different experiences, an experience of abundance in the fall, an experience of freshness in the spring, an experience of austerity in the winter, an experience of incredible flavor and color and texture in the summertime. All those different seasonal kind of food experiences, they have an impact on you, and we like to experience the diversity of it all. So in the wintertime, we'll be eating from these stored crops, but we'd like to have those fall crops lasting as long as possible in the garden. That's why the row covers and the high tunnels are really useful, to extend that season as long as possible, especially up in here in Minnesota where the winter is just so long. But we're glad that we got these in. We got them in before the freeze, so they're not damaged by the frost or the freeze, and they're well on their way to cured. They'll be in the basement pretty soon and ready for the winter eating. But yeah, we are doing that all now. This is part of the transition. It gets us thinking about winter. We're thinking about storage. We're thinking about hunkering down. We're thinking about slowing down. We're thinking about stocking up, and that feeling of not just austerity in the winter and simplicity of food, but also that feeling of well supplied and stocked up. We have what we need for a long time. We've got enough set aside. Those are some other really core emotional experiences of seasonal winter eating that we're excited for. So those feelings are building up in us as we progress through the fall, and we hope you will do that too. That also, another thing that goes along with that is meat. All of our meat is basically done being raised for the year, and it's now into the freezers for storage for winter eating. And you can participate in that by placing bulk orders of chicken this year, or ground beef, or whatever, to stock that up in your freezer, to get that feeling of security and stocked up and prepared. That's so fun to experience and to engage with. So now is a great time to place those orders and get that for yourself, because wintertime is coming. But those things go together, both the stocking up of everything in the freezers and the ending of the activity. So the pasture is finishing now. We're not doing nearly as much out there. There's hardly any work. We're just collecting eggs and moving the layers a little bit from time to time. So a lot less work. The work is in preparing and hunkering down. Let's go see the pullets in the winter high tunnel over there as they're getting ready, and see what else is happening in the garden. Look at these arugula beds. The greens do really well this time of year, but there are going to be some tree leaves in your greens. So we try to pick them all out, but if you catch some tree leaves, they're coming down off the trees. You can't really see the color, but the color is coming in the trees. There you can see some over there, and those leaves do end up in the green. So if you catch one, we're sorry. We do our best to pick them out, but it can be a challenge. The spinach is looking awesome. Spinach is a really cool crop. It loves the cold weather. Look at those leaves. They're so succulent and juicy. And these winter greens, like the spinach especially, they just get sweeter and sweeter as the cold weather comes. And we love that about them. Carrots are the same way. They improve with the cold. They actually create more sugars in their body in order to not freeze, and that makes them taste better. So we love that. A lot of empty beds now. We've pulled crops out here. You can see that, and we're flipping those beds and turning them over. We will be planting garlic pretty soon in some of these beds. Still have some summer squash. Summer plants are being protected from the cold. Broccoli, cauliflower, there's a lot of things, but also a lot of empty beds as we rip final things out. And that's kind of exciting. We're also excited this year to put down a lot of compost and take another step in balancing the minerals. We do that every fall, and in the first several years there was a lot of minerals going in, and in these later years, as we've been doing it for a couple of years, it's less and less and less because the soil is more and more balanced. So we have a little bit of minerals to put down into these beds, but we're mostly now putting compost, organic matter, and inoculating it with biology. Biology is key for making those minerals bioavailable to the crops so that they can get them. But that's what we'll be doing this fall, because even when the winter time comes and freezes this ground solid, the biology down there is still active at a lower rate, but it's still active, breaking things down and making those minerals available so that next spring we'll be able to benefit from them. So it's actually really key that we prep the beds properly in the fall and get all of the biology going in there before as early as we can in the fall, and then we have a maximum benefit from it early in the spring. And people often think at first that in the fall time or in the winter time, when the ground is frozen and it's negative degrees outside, that nothing's happening in the garden, but there's actually a lot happening, and it's very important. It creates a tremendous flush of growth in the early spring. It's that biology's actions through the winter that creates that. And so it doesn't go totally dead and dormant. And that's key to remember, that even though you can't see it, it's still happening. And that's what winter, that's a big thing about winter. The visual, the physical expression, the color, the movement that you're used to all summer ceases, but there's still something important happening. Same in our lives as well. We might not be as active. We might sit around the fire and be quiet and read books, but there's still a lot happening. And it's a very important time to step back and contemplate. Contemplation is key. Stillness is key. Presence is key. All of those things are really important parts of our life that we need to engage in. We need to devote time to. We need to set aside periods of time, seasons for that kind of activity or lack of activity, that kind of behavior, if we want to live a really full human life. So that's really critical, and we have the seasons kind of guiding us in that pattern, and we want to honor that. And we know that if we engage in winter properly, it will give us a flush of growth next spring, just like this. The activity, the still kind of hidden activity in the soil gives that flush of growth in the springtime, and that stillness that we can embody during the winter time will give a flush of growth next spring if we engage with it properly. So we're trying to do that, and we encourage you guys definitely to do that as well, and to engage properly in the wind down of the fall and then in the stillness of winter. So yeah, prepping the beds properly, giving them lots of nourishing microbes and biology with the compost is really important. Feeding the soil now, so that and that would be like, I don't know, creating a book list for the winter, giving yourself all that food and material, good record keeping all summer, so that you can go through that and look back over what's happened. All that is the material that you digest, like the soil does, all winter time, that gives you that flush of growth and progress and forward movement in the springtime. So yeah, prepping beds all fall for next spring. We're thinking way ahead, and that's always the case, that your farmer is at least 6 to 9 months ahead of you and preparing for your food next year. So it's good to have that relationship alive. Let's go see the chickens. Here we are in the winter tunnel with the pullets. They still have shade cloth because the sun is still pretty strong. We'll be taking that off pretty soon though, as the temperatures get colder and colder. These guys are doing really well. They're happy, they're healthy, they're clean, they're content, and they're starting to lay. We've got nest boxes here in this tunnel, and just in the last few days, we've started to get 1 or 2 eggs from these guys. And they're just at the right age to start laying, and that's exciting. And they'll be replacing our current flock that's laying out on pasture right now. As soon as they really come into lay, we'll make that transition to these guys. But yeah, that's the chicken flock, and they're doing really well. That's it for this week's video. As I said, fall is now officially started ever since the fall equinox, the autumn equinox has happened. But now we're really getting some of those cold temperatures, and we're preparing for winter in a more serious way. You can feel it coming on. We feel tired at this point in the year. We want to sit down. We want to take that rest. We got a little more to push and a little more discomfort, cold days, cold fingers to push through, but it's coming and we're looking forward to it. And we're trying to prepare well so that we can enter into that rest and enter into that stillness and contemplation and processing and planning that we do in the wintertime, well prepared. So we hope you guys are doing that too. We love to produce nutritious food for our community. We also want to encourage people to take a step back from their busy modern lives and slow down and take time for contemplation, to enjoy where they are, to be present. And we hope that living seasonally and eating seasonally can kind of start you on that process of disengaging from the busyness and sitting down to a beautiful meal with people and building relationships and stillness and care and building your health at the same time. Feasting is important to us, and we think it's an important human activity, and we want to encourage everybody to engage in it more intentionally and more carefully. So do that, plan some feasts, plan some good meals, take the time to sit down with people and eat. And if you got to get food, might as well get it from us, right? That'd be great. Keep placing those orders. There's still a ton of food coming out, and we thank you for everyone who does shop week to week. The CSA will be ending pretty soon, at least the normal 20 weeks. We'll continue to have food after that. If you'd like to continue getting food, that will just happen. We can just continue to deliver food as long as it's lasting to all of our members, and we appreciate that continued support even through the winter time when things are leaner. So yeah, head over to the website and place your orders for this week, and stay tuned as we progress through this fall and into the end of the year. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.